what do you know? I'm not going to be in the Atlanta campaign anymore, or the Chickamauga campaign, or anything else. I'm going to be on the second Atlanta campaign that the Confederates did. But it didn't really work so well. Just one battle and the Confederates lost. What battle? I'm standing on a Union dead body, or a Confederate dead body. I don't really care anyways. So, this is the Battle of Allatoona Pass. Now, during the Atlanta campaign, William Tecumseh Sherman saw that the Confederate troops had positioned themselves upon this tiny little mountain range. And William Tecumseh Sherman, being a military general, he had actually gone to Allatoona Pass in his earlier days before the American Civil War. So you know what happens? He knows that this is not a very good place to go attack because of its strategic position. So instead he attacks Pickett's Mill, New Hope Church, and a bunch of other places, which eventually led to the Battle of Kennesaw Mountain. So that's all nice and well. But then after the Atlanta campaign, the Confederates, well specifically on October 23rd, they came back. Why? So that they could retake Atlanta, even though it was kind of burned to the ground. They don't really care. So yeah, they came here, and the Union troops tried to stop them. Now, in the direction that is currently my backside, about, half a mile that way, there was a redoubt, a Union redoubt. And then the Confederate troops wrecked that. The Union troops came back and jumped into a star fort. And I know. Why are there star forts in the American Civil War? Now, you might expect something like Fort Donelson or like Fort Negley or anything else. But I say no, it's a dirt star fort. Now, star forts don't have to look like stars, but anyways, the Union troops jumped into these trenches. And yes, there was actually a little boardwalk, so that was not good. Anyways, they used their rifles and their bayonets to shoot it up and break it to pieces. So if the Confederate troops were to do it, then they would be really, really injured. So they jumped into these trenches, and they really did not enjoy it, because they lost. They jumped over into the star fort where we are going to be going. Fun fact, I am currently in the view of a photograph that was taken in this very star fort. I'll show it. But here was the entrance, the actual entrance. The reason why it slopes down, it isn't because this was man-made. Well, this was man-made, but from 1864, they actually had a big boardwalk leading down here. Except it would only be this part. They did not have the boardwalk across the trench, except for over the trench itself, which they kind of broke into pieces just before, so I don't really think that counts. But this, very famous. There was a photo of this exact spot right before the battle. So now we have officially entered a Civil War star fort, a field star fort. Now this is all cool and all, but so there was one problem. This star fort is not like the star forts in Puerto Rico, because those things are hella big, or like in Spain or in Florida or in like any other place on earth. Like Fort Sumter is much larger than this. If you've ever been there, you probably know. And then they slammed 700 men in here. See how that works, with their muskets and the ammunition barrels stacked there over there, and a few cannons. Let's see how that works. Now, there was one famous thing, and that is the 3-inch ordnance rifle. If you ever seen any of my cannon videos, like my first cannon video, well, the actual one that I showed the cannons in, I use the 3-inch ordnance rifle as an example. And if you saw that, you know that its bore is 3 inches and it is rifled. But it can use canister, but it's not as effective as Napoleon's with canister. Napoleon's were not long range, but they were great with canisters. And that's why there were a few canister shooting Napoleons in here too. They also shot round balls, which are basically big bowling balls that were much heavier, around 12 pounds, or maybe 8 pounds depending on which one you're firing, but you just roll it at the enemy. It would usually be used to knock down buildings, but guess what? There are no buildings to knock down here. So let's just Let's just knock down the Confederate pins. So that's basically what they did with the round shots for the Napoleons. But sometimes the 3-inch ordnance rifle, which was positioned right about here. The reason why I know that is because the Confederate troops were coming in that direction, not from that direction. So that's something I have to digress. Now, a fun fact, they had a mortar. And it was positioned right behind you. And there's still a little bit of a hump. That would be a small like mortar artillery battery inside a little fort. So that's funny. They moved it to another place, aka Atlanta, before this battle started. And when the battle started, they were trying to move it back. And then when they moved it back, they were like, "Hi, we're here to put the mortar back into the thing, and why are there no more dead people, and why they're all buried?" Because the battle ended. So that sucked for the mortar. Didn't get to see combat. It was scrapped. And also that was a cowhorn. So now there's only 3 left. If they had saved it and preserved it, maybe there would be 4 left. And that one would be from Allatoona. But that's a very interesting thing. They literally put a cowhorn mortar there. Now, fun fact about cowhorn mortars, they're not made of metal. The only metal parts are like the nails and like the other parts to the adjustment. Not even the barrel was. The barrel was made of wood. The platform was made of wood. That's the reason why most of them have degraded by now. If it hadn't degraded because the barrel was made of metal, we would have a bunch of cowhorn mortar barrels left. But we only have 3 left, and they're only in like museums, and I think one is in the city hall, I guess. But that's pretty strange. Now, mortars were generally used for sieging cities. For example, cowhorn mortars were very popular during the siege of Vicksburg, but not so popular in the siege of Atlanta or Richmond or like anything else. But some people did have field mortars to, shoot at the enemy. Now, instead of doing things like pointing it straight at the enemy, mortars, they're designed to be up. There's literally a piece of wood that stops the mortar barrel from going down, so that was a problem. So they had to aim it extremely up so that it could hit the Confederate troops. Anyways, the Confederates eventually lost the battle. They won a redoubt, but they couldn't win the fort. And this Star Fort is basically the main point of the battle. So, as you probably know, Confederates did not win the American Civil War. And instead, they just disappeared, except for the Ku Klux Klan these days, who used the worst flag ever, aka the wrong flag ever. So they retreated, and some more houses were built in the area. It was starting to grow forested, and this Star Fort was somebody's backyard and private property. But if you look at this, you'll see a little house here. This photo was taken in 1866, right after the Civil War ended, by George N. Barnard, aka the guy who probably took all the photos of the American Civil War in this area. And he took it standing right about there. So you can still see that house. It is currently privately owned. Do not go in because you'll be arrested, or maybe have spray paint in your face, or maybe get shot. But the railroad's also there. This little building there, it's not there. And they did dig up some of the seashore, so now the Allatoona Lake or the Etowah River or anything else that you want to call it would be right about there these days. So that's not nice. That was basically the whole battle. But let's focus on the actual Star Fort itself. Now, if you look at the Star Fort, and even if you look at it back then, you will see that it's very different from every single thing else. Fort Sumter, it doesn't look like a fort. It looks like somebody's barn house. But hey, it's a Star Fort, and it doesn't look like this. This doesn't exactly even look like a fort. Actually, all Star Forts don't really look like a star. But here. So when you see Fort Sumter and Fort Pulaski and Fort anything else, you will see that it's made of bricks and stone and cobblestone. Well, no, this one's made of dirt and wood. Okay, that's nice. Oh, and also, guys, if you look over there, it's right there. So this is the entrance, okay? And that's the wooden board I talked about. They had to replace it because, wood doesn't really last so long with new wood. But anyways, that's still where it is. And I actually took a photo where the photographer stood, aka George and Barnard, because he took a photo of every single thing in the world. So it still looked like this by 1866, which is why he took it at that time. And this was during a Veterans Thing, which is the reason why there's some 2 guys in it wearing uniforms. But hey, yeah. Now, this was a field fortification, which means that it's made of dirt. If it was a permanent fortification, like on a riverside or maybe on an ocean side, then it would be made out of a more permanent material. And that's why it has deteriorated over the years. But hey, it's still a pretty cool fort. Cowhorn mortar, 3-inch ordnance rifle, and that's awesome. But, fun fact, the Union flag, which was flying up here, straight in the center, like about right here where I'm standing. See, I'm a flag. Now, you wouldn't want to be a flag, and the flag wouldn't want to be itself, because after the battle, they counted the bullet holes in the Union flag that was flying right there inside this fort. How many bullet holes? 192. That's nearly 200 bullet holes, including this one big cannonball hole that went straight through the stars and a bit of the stripes. Dang it! I hate those rebels. 2 days after, they used the cannonball to blow the entire Confederate flag up, right above John Bell Hood, and John Bell Hood was like, "Holy crap! That's the most offensive thing that you've ever done to me." I mean, I've been shot in the arm and I can't use it that much. I don't have my right leg anymore, and it's just amputated and replaced by a fake leg. But that's more offensive than getting shot twice. So that was nice. Very, very, very not so good for the Confederates. Anyways, the remains of that flag is currently on display in the museum in Cartersville, which is only like 32 miles from here. I'm sorry, I can't really decide that. But this Star Fort is not the same as any other ones. There are a few other Star Forts in this area, but none of them were more center-focused than this one. This Star Fort, which doesn't look like a star at all, saw the climax of this entire battle, which happened on October 23rd, 1864. Just a few months before the Confederacy surrendered. Not a few months, like many months, but who cares? I'm just making it feel dramatic, but yeah. Cowhorn mortar, 3-inch ordnance rifle, photo there, photo again, and this is the climax of the Battle of Allatoona Pass.